She's also a great actress. She was undefeated from 81 to 85 as world karate champion in both weapons and forms, and has also done over 30 impressive foreign and domestic action films. Movies like The Dukes of Hazzard Reunion, Above the Law with Steven Seagal, China O'Brien, to mention a few. And she's also coming out with her own comic book this fall.
So if anybody wants to date you, if they can take you out there, right? Cynthia Rothrock, ladies and gentlemen. What about your movie career, Above the Law, and of course Dukes of Hazzard Reunion? Anything else on the go?
Yeah, I've done probably somewhere around 40 films. I took some time off. I had a little girl, and now I'm ready to get back into it. And talking with Don Wilson about doing Sci-Fighter 2. We did one, and I'm also meeting a good friend of mine, Richard Norton, who we've done 8 films together. We have a script, and we're going to kind of reinvent the traditional martial art, the good fighting, all realistic fight scenes back into the film industry.
Message to other women who are kind of thinking about going into martial arts. What would your advice be to them?
I think that all women, even children, men, everybody should know some sort of martial arts. I've always thought that because there's so many benefits, and nowadays, our world is so unsafe that everybody should know how to defend themselves or be able to defend one of their loved ones. And it's 1,000% something everybody should do. It doesn't matter what your age is. You can always learn how to defend yourself.
Well, you know what? You brought a new standard to not only action films, you and Michelle Yeoh, and we wish you continued success, and you've done a great job, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Cynthia Rothrock.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about action in films. We've seen Don, he did some kickboxing, and Bill did some point sparring. So now we'll talk a little bit about the action in films. When I first did my film in Hong Kong, I remember they wanted me to do a roundhouse kick like this. And I was like, oh no, that's not traditional. I have to rechamber my leg coming in. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna look terrible on film. And then when I saw it on film, I was like, oh, this is so great. It looks good, they know what they're doing. So a couple of the things that you wanna do, I know a lot of martial artists would love to be in films. I mean, I never really pursued it. I always thought it's something I'd love to do. I used to love to watch the Jackie Chan films. But it's not just getting out there and fighting, it's like acting. And one of the main people in fighting is your opponent. It's not you, because you could be the best technique martial artist you could do, but if your person that you're fighting isn't, you're not going to look good. For example, I'm going to come in with a punch, and he's not going to react too well. So that looks terrible. It doesn't look like I have a good punch. Now, the same thing, he reacts. You can see the difference there. So this person is also an actor, and actually he has to act just as much as the other person because he has to make sure he looks like he got hit, and most of the time we aren't hitting. For example, if I'm going to punch him in film, and you're sitting over on this side, it's a miss. But if the camera's behind me and I come in like that, it looks like a hit. So there's a lot of technical things about filming. One of the things is when I did my first movie, Yes, Madam, Yun Kuei was the director, and we were doing a fight scene with about 7 people doing weapons, and I turned around and the guy hit me in the nose with the sword. It was my first movie, my nose is all swollen, the water's coming out of my eyes, and Yun Kuei comes over and he goes, your nose looks better that way, don't worry about it. So then I do my second movie with Sammo Hung, and I had to do a wheel kick to the person's head, and Sammo was not having a good day. He lost some money in a casino, so he was kind of a little bit angry at everybody, and I was still kind of nervous as Sammo. So I did a wheel kick, and I went over the guy's head, so it wasn't reading like a hit in the camera. So Sammo was getting mad, and I was going over his head because he kept coming in too close. So we did this about 3-4 times. The guy would come in too close, and I'd go over the head because I didn't want to hit him. So I put my foot out. I went, okay, right about there, that's where my foot is going to come. If you come in, I'm going to hit you. The guy comes in, I hit him, he goes down on the floor, I see all blood coming out of his ear, and I'm so petrified. One of the stunt guys come over and says, Cynthia, don't worry about it, that's the guy that hit you in the nose with the sword in the last film. So, anyway, and plus, not only do you're fighting, you have to be in certain angles, and you can't move from it. You have to act once you're on the ground. But all us martial art actors owe it to our stunt people because they're the ones that's going to make us look good or not. So, thank you. So what I'm going to do now, in a second, Bill Wallace and Don Wilson and Michael J. White will come out and they'll talk a little bit about some of their film techniques that they like, but I'm just going to dabble with a little bit of broadsword. It's one of my favorite weapons to do. I don't get to use it too much in movies. I think I did one in a Hong Kong film, I forget, Magic Crystal. I was doing it with Richard Norton, and we were shooting for 36 hours nonstop. We were so tired, and I went to slice, and I got him right in the eyebrow and split it. He had about 30 stitches. They took him to the hospital, came back, and ready to fight again. So these are kind of swords that we use in films, but even though they're kind of light, they still hurt. So I'll just do a couple of my favorite techniques in the broadsword. It's been a while since I actually did somewhat of a form.
Cynthia with that trademark cat kick and some pretty sensational